We know we've got tough trucks, even tougher drivers. It's time to put on the gloves and see who will remain standing tonight at the end of round 10. ESPN 2 is live from Texas Motor Speedway for round 10 of the Nascar Craftsman Truck Series. Tonight, it's the Pronto Auto Parts 400K. Taking a look at the championship chase after 9 rounds of racing, Jack Sprague back on top by 37 over Stacy Compton. Ron Hornaday, the lowest he's been since 1997. In third, Andy Houston and Dennis Setzer round out the top 5. Setzer, 201 points out of first place. Hello again, everybody. I'm Marty Reed, along with Jeremy Dale, and we know we're looking for Jack Sprague to possibly make it 3 in a row tonight. He's going to start 6 after a hair-raising qualifying. But we had several surprises in qualifying, starting with Jay Sauter.
Well, both in and out of the top 10, we had surprises. Jay Sauter and the Childers team did a great job. Mind you, they ran more of those simulated qualifying runs than anyone else, so not a lot of people were surprised that he was on the pole, but a great run by Sauter. But 3 other guys in the top 10, David Starr, Brian Reffner, and Terry Fisher, great performances by those guys.
In fact, let's show you exactly where those 3 guys ended up as we take a look at our Mopar starting grid, and it'll be on the pole with a record run of 179 miles an hour. Jay Sauter, his first career pole. Stacy Compton, 8 top 10 finishes this year alone. Then in row number 2, it'll be Dennis Setzer and Ron Hornaday. Hornaday, as you know, 3rd in the points, Setzer 5th. In row number 3, it'll be Mike Bliss and Jack Sprague. And row number 4, Terry Fisher. Best qualifying effort that he has ever done in this series. Brian Reffner had a motor change, though, after they lost it in the last practice. More on that. Then Andy Houston and David Starr, his best qualifying ever in row number 5.
And row 6 is Greg Biffle in the Granger Ford, and Bob Keselowski making one of his super speedway appearances in the Dodge. Row 7, Rick Crawford, and the rookie Mike Stefanik in the 66 Ford. Row 8, Rob Morgan with a good performance, and Kevin Sawinski in the 31 Ford. Row 9 is Jimmy Hensley in the Dodge, and Joe Ruttman sitting in for Butch Miller in the Dodge. And row 10, Scott Hansen, another rookie, and Kevin Harvick in the number 98 Ford.
Now, as we take a look at the rest of the field, you'll notice some big names that aren't normally back this far. Randy Tolsma there in row number 12. Even further back, though, you'll notice when we get to the next row, row 14, Mike Wallace, his worst qualifying of the year. Then on down through the rest of this field, some names that will possibly sound familiar, one of them being Jeff Andretti, as he is going to make a start all the way back in row number 18, his first ever NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series performance. As we're getting ready to go green flag racing here at the Pronto Auto Parts 400K, a total of 37 trucks are going to take this green flag. Let's go to the onboard camera situation.
And the first camera, the number 2 truck of Mike Wallace in the Ultra Wheels Team ASE Ford starting 27th. Jimmy Hensley in the Dodge by Petty Dodge truck starting 17th. Andy Houston in the number 60 truck Cat Rental Store Chevy. He'll be starting 9th. Hornaday, Ron Hornaday, the number 60 Napa Chevy. And 86, Stacy Compton in the RC Cola Dodge.
And we are green with round 10. Survived through turns 1 and 2 into 3. It's Jay Sauter in the lead, followed by Stacy Compton, Dennis Setzer, Ron Hornaday, and Jack Sprague. That's your top 5 as we get ready to complete lap number 1 of 167. On board with Ron Hornaday.
Now keep in mind, these guys almost flat out around this 1.5 mile oval very, very quick.
Hornaday trying to look underneath Dennis Setzer, down the back chute. Looks like he's going to take the position. Here comes Sprague trying to follow along. Jay Sauter pulling out a larger margin by 0.8 of a second after only 2 laps. So that high-speed performance that he had all through practice and qualifying, so far he's holding on to it.
He was very good at coming out of the pits and getting up to speed very quickly. And that qualifying performance was just fantastic for Jay Sauter.
A lot of the guys were telling us that the tires didn't really come in for him in the long runs until about lap 25. We got a spin. The 41 of Terry Fisher. Look out. Everybody trying to dodge him. Are they going to make it? That was close. Yellow is out. Our first caution of the evening as Terry Fisher takes everybody for a wild ride. And this team, the one thing we didn't get a chance to tell you was right before tonight's race, an accident in the pits. They were working on another truck, and his crew chief, Todd Myers, ended up injuring his hand and is not there. They do not have a crew chief per se working on the 41 truck.
And what a disappointment for Terry Fisher after that great qualifying performance.
Let's go back and take another look.
Coming off turn 4.
Well, we'll get a chance to catch up with that after we take a commercial break. Stay with us here at the Pronto Auto Parts 400K, round 10 of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Round 10 of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series is brought to you by Pronto Auto Parts Stores and their top quality Pronto brand and Smart Finish brand products. By the Motor Trend Truck of the Year, the new Chevy Silverado. It's the truck. And by Mopar, parts for Chrysler, Plymouth, Dodge, and Jeep vehicles. From the dealerships that sell and install them, that's the Mopar difference. We're under caution for the first time. Let's go back and take a quick look, show you what happened to Terry Fisher.
And Terry Fisher, there he is all by himself going into turn 3, and he gets very, very low. It's almost like he put that truck on the apron, but does a great job here to keep it off the wall. And I thought he was going to save it, and then he hooks it back, and very lucky not to get T-boned by another truck in turn 4.
And how about David Starr, the 73, right behind him, managed to keep from getting into him, and we are ready to go green flag racing again. And boy, Andy Houston on the restart really fired around, picked up 3 positions.
And how about Ron Hornaday, who gets a great jump on Stacy Compton?
Nobody got the jump on Jay Sauter. He is still up front. Down the backstretch, it is Sauter, then Ron Hornaday, Stacy Compton, Andy Houston, and Dennis Setzer. That's your top 5 on board with the Cat Rental Store Chevrolet of Andy Houston. Son is going to play havoc with us through turns 3 and 4. Sauter maintaining has led every lap since the drop of the green flag. We're working lap number 7 of 167. Houston trying to get underneath of Stacy Compton. Can't do it. In fact, that's a Dodge sandwich right now, and Chevy of Andy Houston is the lead.
Now we got 2 Chevys out front. Those Dodges have been very quick. 4 of the top 6 trucks in happy hour were Dodge trucks, but right now the Chevy's out front.
So far this year, Chevrolet has 5 wins, Ford has 3, Dodge has 1. Boy, Sauter is looking very strong. His last speed, 176.2 miles an hour. He qualified at 179.
You can see Hornaday now falling back into the clutches of Stacy Compton. Hornaday always so good on those restarts.
Andy Houston, you saw how his best super speedway finish of second. And Brian Reffner behind the wall. They lost the motor that they had done so well in qualifying, and then they ended up purchasing a motor from the number 60 team of Andy Houston. It looks like they barely got it in time to make it to the grid, and they've got some other problems.
And now you can see Stacy Compton very much in touch with Ron Hornaday. Let's go down to Dave.
Well, more on that 7 truck, Jeremy. They were so hopeful coming here, Brian Reffner and truck owner John Connolly. They brought with them a brand new motor, but they also brought with them Kurt Rohrig, the truck owner who won here last year with Tony Raines. He brought his notes and he brought his shock knowledge, and they qualified 8th. They were very hopeful until they popped that motor late yesterday night, and they are obviously now behind the wall and doesn't look good.
Already getting into some lap traffic. That was Phil Bonifield that you saw Stacy Compton blow by. Compton running in third. That's Hornaday right in front of him. And well out in the distance is that man right there, the number 3 of Jay Sauter.
And Stacy Compton's really been bragging about these Dodge motors all weekend, about the power and the development that's gone into those motors. And you can see these Dodges not short on horsepower.
Ron Hornaday at Texas Motor Speedway, his best finish, 24th. That was back in 1998. Finished 27th the year earlier. And one of the things he told us was they were both times they were engine failures. They were asking too much in the motor, so they de-geared a little bit. You can see that they're going around a lot slower. That's Jeff Andretti going a lap down. And it seemed to pay some big dividends. He still qualified well.
Well, that was the thing. Hornaday really, he was downplaying their performance, saying, oh, you know, we're going to lay back a little bit. We're going to gear the truck down a little bit so it's not pulling as much RPM. And then he goes out with a great qualifying position in fourth.
Now let's go back to the battle for 12th. That's Mike Stefanik in the 66. Alongside is Mike Bliss in the 99. These guys have been going after each other, and they too going past the 94 of Jeff Andretti.
Well, and Mike Bliss, who started in 5th, has fallen down to the 12th position. So in the early going, that truck not performing very well.
Actually, he's lasted longer than before last year. I mean, last year he broke his shoulder in a crash about 5 laps into this thing. So anything right now has been an improvement over last year, and he has got the position back. In fact, he's closing in on Jimmy Hensley. You saw his best finish there. And notice that 18 truck right in front of Hensley. That is Joe Ruttman on board with Hensley as he is looking back on Mike Bliss. The sun is still trying to set in the west. I think it'll succeed. Can Jay Sauter succeed? We'll find out. Stay with us. Sauter is flying.
Yeah, that last lap, 171 miles an hour, so they've cooled off the pace a little bit. Things have settled in here a little bit, but these three very close. Ron Hornaday, Stacy Compton, and Andy Houston.
And rounding out the top 5 is the number 1 of Dennis Setzer. Dave, you've got an update on Jay Sauter?
Well, Marty, I want to tell you about the truck. It was obviously very fast in qualifying because it led its own lap. It was out front. But between qualifying and race trim, most of the teams added what they call gurney lifts or flaps on the fenders to give them a little more downforce in the front end. Sauter's team, the Goodwrench crew, added one only to the right side fender. They wanted to keep some of the speed out front, but they also wanted to give him some stability in traffic. Well, he's got the speed out front. That's pretty obvious. It'll be interesting to see if Jay gets caught in traffic with the fast guys, whether or not that 3 truck will handle.
And fortunately for Jay Sauter, he hasn't had to really deal with that problem yet. No doubt before the evening is over, he'll have to do that as Ron Hornaday now rolls up behind him. He's got a good run going into 3.
And as we pointed out, Hornaday has not done well here. Though he's a little loose there. I mean, he's finished 24th and 27th in our 2 trips prior to Texas Motor Speedway. And in 3rd place right behind him, the 86 of Stacy Compton. Compton says that, oh, and look at Hornaday coming up on him now as he's right on the back bumper of Jay Sauter. And Sauter, that last lap was down to 170. So did he overcook the tires? Here comes Hornaday. Could we have our first lead change? Yes, we do. And Compton trying to make it 2 positions that they'll set Sauter back, but nope, he closes the door.
And we didn't see Jay Sauter in that 3 truck doing a lot of long runs. These other trucks and other teams have been working and focusing a bit more on the longer runs, and that's really going to be the key if we go green.
Well, right now, Jay Sauter finds himself in 2nd place behind Ron Hornaday. Hornaday led 5 laps last year. That's the only time he has led prior to tonight here at Texas Motor Speedway. And here's a guy who has led more laps this season than anybody else, well over 400. Now let's move a little bit further back in the pack. Pick up the 8th position right there, the number 98. That is Kevin Harvick. I saw a little smoke on the truck behind him. Harvick's come up from 20th position, and that is Sawinski with the right front, a little bit of perhaps tire rub.
Yeah, it definitely looks like some tire rub on Sawinski's truck. Look at that. You can see it. Hopefully he's headed for pits. Yes, he is. He's headed for the pit lane.
Oh, he's got more more damage to that right front.
Good call by Sawinski. You don't want that right front going down.
So while we got a quick glance at Kevin Harvick, who has moved from 20th to 8th position, just the opposite for Kevin Sawinski. He makes his way down the pit lane. There is Jimmy Hensley. Hensley currently trying to work his way through this pack and get back into the thick of things. He's in 9th position. List is right behind him, the 18 of Joe Ruttman. You're wondering, wait a minute, what happened to Butch Miller, that third truck in line? Miller was released from his contract this week. Despite having 4 top 10 finishes in this day and age, you've got to perform up to everybody's standards, and he is out of the ride. Joe Ruttman is in for this race only as of right now. No firm commitments as to what's going to happen to that 18 truck after today's race.
Joe Ruttman only got that call on Tuesday. He didn't have a lot of time to prepare and actually came out here with Bobby Hamilton on Wednesday, and Hamilton tested the truck. Actually, they both drove the truck on Wednesday, and that was really the condition of him doing the deal. Well, he took a truck last year, started 31st, and finished 3rd at this racetrack, so he does know how to hustle it around Texas Motor Speedway. The guy who's hustling right now, Ron Hornaday. He's out in front of Jay Sauter. We're back with more after this. Just part of our tough talent, tough drivers, tough trucks here at Texas Motor Speedway, and that's the toughest of them all right now, Ron Hornaday, our second leader of the race. I'm Marty Reed, along with Jeremy Dale topside, Dave Burns, Amy East, patrolling pit lane. Battle for second there with Jay Sauter, then Stacy Compton, on board now with Andy Houston as he's in 4th, and right behind him is Jack Sprague. Sprague has gotten around Dennis Setzer for 5th, and there's Setzer at the back of this freight train. These guys have been locked in battle here for about 15 laps. Bit of a gap now in front of Andy Houston. He's fallen back.
Dave, you got more?
Marty, I wanted to update on the 60 before Andy Houston dropped back, but he's been reporting he's a little bit tight. Now, the 2 guys in front of him, that would be Stacy Compton. He is also tight, but Jay Sauter has been reporting about being loose going into the corners. And if I'm not mistaken, having Compton that close behind him makes him even looser, doesn't it?
Well, that's true, Dave, and generally as this racetrack cools off, the trucks are going to tighten up, so I don't think it's something that these guys weren't ready for and weren't expecting. I think what they're hoping for is a pit stop soon, as you see Sprague making a move on Houston going into 3. I don't think they are definitely ready for this. They're ready to loosen up these trucks a little bit, and in reality, Sauter's setup might actually come in better than anyone else's.
Well, and Andy Houston talked to us before the race about when you get up behind somebody, you have a tendency to get tighter because of the air that they're cutting through and making it easier for you to come around.
And if you work that right front tire, if you do too much drafting and you're working that right front tire too much, you're going to overheat it, and it'll never really come back to you.
Cat Rental Store Chevrolet, and speaking of the Super Cat, in 98 on all the super speedways, he had 12 races. His average finish close to 14th. In 99, we've had 3 races. His best was a 3rd, and his average is 4th. You talk about being on the prowl? Well, don't count the number 60 out of this one.
Look at Sprague up there working on Compton.
And he's got a ringside seat. There is Sauter, Compton, Sprague.
And Sprague's attitude was, we want to go green the whole way. We're so confident with this truck on long runs, and we're so confident in our team in terms of doing the green flag pit stops. We want this race to run green from start to finish. That's the way we're going to win this race.
In fact, Dennis Conner said, yeah, I've got the best crew possible now because I'm not part of it. He used to go over the wall, and he took himself out of the rotation. Flying around this racetrack last time by, the 16 truck of Hornaday averaged 172 miles an hour. And there goes Setzer around the 60. So he is now back to 5th, or I make that 6th position. for Andy Houston, move Setzer up one. And look at this, as things getting a little dicey with some lap traffic.
And maybe Andy Houston, maybe he worked that right front too hard. Maybe he was running a little tight with those other trucks. Got a lot of that push, overheated that right front, and now falling back a little bit. Look at Compton making a move on Sauter.
Does he have enough room to get it done? That's the benefit of the draft. You can pick up 4 to 6 miles an hour, and all of a sudden, Jay's hung out.
Yes, Sauter hung out to dry, coming off turn 4.
Still there.
That's the spotter.
Behind the 60. No pressure behind you now. Let's go.
Jay Sauter from 2nd down to 6th.
It can happen just that quickly on the super speedways. And notice that 73, David Starr. He is in 7th place. This young kid, right from Dallas here, doing very well. There he is in that white truck. 31 years old. No sponsorship to speak of. The Sontag Ready Mix Chevrolet. They bought 80 extra tickets for all the hometown fans here. They said, we really need to do well here. We've got some sponsor opportunities. He says, if we could do a top 10, great. If we could do a top 5, bring it on. Right now he's running 7th. Back to Stacy Compton and Jack Sprague as they are battling for 2nd on the racetrack. So far, we have had 1 caution. That was for the spin with Terry Fisher in turn number 4. Other than that, this has been a very clean and very fast race. Joe Ruttman right on the back bumper of Mike Bliss. That's a battle for 8th. So Ruttman hanging in there, making his presence known. And the trucks that have been on the move, Ruttman has moved up 9 positions. Tolsma now up 13 to 10th. Obviously, we'll check in with Randy here pretty soon. Terry Cook, Mike Wallace, and B.A. Wilson.
Yeah, Tolsma, one of the guys caught out in qualifying along with Mike Wallace. And by the way, Mike Wallace right now made a good move initially, but up to 17th right now.
Let's get more on Joe Ruttman. Amy?
Well, the truck is really tough right now, Marty, but you know what? He is overheating. He has quite a temperature problem right now, and they need a yellow badge so that they can try to assess what they can do to cool that truck down.
Well, the worst thing he's doing right now, well, now he's gotten out of the draft, trying to go around Mike Bliss. He's on the underneath side. Can he make it stick? Looks like he's got the position, so he may be running a little warm, but he just dusted off the 99, the X-Side 4.
Well, he's been running around there on Bliss's rear bumper for about 10 laps, and it's not surprising you would have some overheating. He's got some clean air now, so maybe those water temperatures will come down.
Give you an idea of the banking here at Texas Motor Speedway, just how fast. That's Mike Stefanik going around out there. He is currently running in 14th position. Back to this battle as Ruttman has opened up about 2 truck lengths over Mike Bliss. And he is running in 8th. Bliss is 9th. Tolsma rounds out the top 10. Who's leading? Well, it's Ron Hornaday at the Pronto Auto Parts 400. Round 10 of the Nascar Craftsman Truck Series. You're riding on board with race leader Ron Hornaday. As you can see, he is our 2nd leader of the day. Sauter took the green flag on the pole, and then it was Hornaday taking over and has maintained the position. You can see just how wide a margin he has built up as the battle for 2nd is really heating up. The 24 is trying to go underneath Stacy Compton. The lap traffic of Bob Keselowski helped set that up, and here comes Sprague. Can he hold on to it? As they come to the stripe, nope, Compton's going to be credited with still being in 2nd place, and Setzer's looking on the back bumper of both of them.
And look at that horsepower in that Dodge. Compton, and there's not much you can do up there. Little wiggle there from Compton coming off turn 2. And here comes Setzer up the inside.
Yeah, that 2nd line doesn't look like it's quite in yet. He had to sort of get out of it a little bit. And we're on board with Stacy Compton, and there goes Dennis Setzer. Compton falling back. Dave, you got more?
Marty, a little while ago, Stacy radioed in that he had a vibration. They asked him to identify where it was, and the best he could do was the rear of the truck. So the next time he comes in, they hope simply changing tires will do something for him, but right now he's complaining of a slight vibration in the rear.
And what you really hope on something like that is that it's just throwing a wheel weight or something like that, and it's a wheel vibration, not something like a drive shaft because that would be a much more serious deal.
And last year here, they struggled in qualifying. They ended up having water in the carburetor. That's what they found out. And they started 28th. They came back to finish 5th. So this team can rebound if they have a setback, if they need a little bit of an extension in the pit lane. Remember, 1.5 miles. You can do a lot of work. Oh, a big spin. The 71 of Tommy Croft. Can he hold on to it without going into the wall? Tommy? Oof, not quite. Oh, and he gets both ends.
Hey, don't move.
Get the brakes
on.
Everybody makes the split. Tommy Croft, former stadium and desert off-road racer from out California way, damage to both ends of the Mannheim Auction Chevrolet. Tough break for the 71 team.
We're 54 laps in, and we will probably see some pit stops here.
This was his second NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race. He ran back here in '97 at Texas and finished 14th. And he's scheduled to do 4 races total. The 2 here at Texas Motor Speedway, California, and Las Vegas. But it looks like today is over. Let's go back and take a look, see what happened to the number 71 of Tommy Croft.
Coming off turn 2, and that is Ron Hornaday there tucked up. And I'm just wondering, maybe he took a little bit of air off the rear of that truck. And Croft did a great job initially, but then it kind of hooks back on him, and he gets the nose of the truck up into the wall on the outside.
After hitting the nose, the back end comes around, and it hits as well. So we have our second caution of the evening here at Texas Motor Speedway. And with us working lap number 54, I would imagine we could see some pit stops. We are well within the window.
I would be very surprised if we didn't. Good opportunity for these guys to make some adjustments on these trucks as they dive down into pit lane.
So all the trucks on the lead lap can and do come into pit lane, and Ron Hornaday leads the parade. Jack Sprague, Dennis Setzer, Stacy Compton right behind. Let's go to Amy East.
That's exactly what Joe Ruttman needed. They're going to remove some tape from the front grille so that he can get a little bit more air and cool down. Dave Birch.
Right side tires for Ron Hornaday, a little tight off the corner. They're having trouble getting him water, and he needs that today. Meanwhile, Dennis Setzer comes in for right side. Jackman, Brian Keselowski, treated for heat exhaustion earlier today. He's back in, and Dennis Setzer is stuck. He cannot get out for Stacy Compton right in the way. Setzer finally out of here. Compton still working on the right side.
Well, Dave, we have tires going all over the place. One of them sent out into the racetrack by Ron Hornaday as he was coming out of pit lane. The X-side Ford, look at the pit angle. Oh, and he taps the wall on the way up. There's another tire, and it collects B.A. Wilson. Now it's bouncing around.
Well, what a mess. I mean, Bliss had a horrible time down there. His truck was nose in on the wall. There's another one of those loose tires.
If you pull, but yeah, guys, you're doing a great job, because off to the left, there's the other one against the wall. Dave, bring us up to date.
Well, Marty, we thought when we got here to Texas that everything would be so much better because there was a lot of space to work in the pits. The problem is that it's a very wide pit lane, plenty of room out to the grass, but it's very narrow in terms of the pit boxes. And they're not too small, they're just pretty tight, and that's what happened with most of these guys down here.
Well, and those trucks are not small. Those trucks are big. Now, Hornaday had a great advantage. You can see him wiping his face down in there. He had a great advantage because he was first in, got into his pit box cleanly, and he was about the only guy that did get into his pit box cleanly. The guy that made out like a bandit on that was Andy Houston, who came out in second place.
Let's take a replay on what happened to Mike Bliss. Look at how his angle is in that pit box.
And look at that skid mark. That was from his right front. And then, I mean, he had to spin it around like that to get it out. And then the 85 truck, you can't see that tire, ends up hitting it.
Luckily, it does not go anywhere else except harmlessly down the racetrack. So there is Mike Bliss. Dave, you got more?
Well, the problem, Marty, was that Bliss could never get into his pit stall. Howard Shipwash, the tire carrier for Jack Sprague, went down, and Mike Bliss saw him. Fortunately, he could never get into his pit stall, so that's what took him so long initially.
You mean he actually was down on the ground?
That's right. Shipwash fell, and he was in Bliss's way, so Bliss could not enter his pit stall. The thing is, they try to enter, the guys come off the wall ready to get into their pit lane when their truck hits the pit in front of them. And so they were watching the 24 pit. They saw Shipwash go down, and Bliss knew he couldn't drive into his pit.
So what turns out to be a bad break in one sense is very lucky in another. So the worst that happened is that the 99 is back to 17th spot, but no one was injured. Stay with us. round 10 of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, the Pronto Auto Parts 400K at Texas Motor Speedway here at Fort Worth, Texas. And time considerations mean we need to move ahead in our race action. Back at round 10 of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, the Pronto Auto Parts 400, race leader Mike Bliss. Now, he is the only truck on the lead lap that stayed out, Jeremy.
He did stay out to get some track position, and, you know, we've been talking to guys, and not a lot of guys are concerned about left side tire wear, and this might work out for Mike Bliss. Dave, can you help out?
They're hoping so, guys. They hope they can keep this position up there, and I think you might have mentioned before, Jeremy, left side tires they didn't think was that big a deal down here. Matt Chambers just told us that they hope with all the problems they're having in the pits down here, they can at least make up their positions now. Now, their fuel window was not increased by all that much by coming in at this point. He said plus or minus 3 laps. So anyway, he decided to stay out at this point. Hopefully it'll work out for Bliss.
Well, the other thing we have to remember is that Mike Bliss had a horrible pit stop. And the first time around, take a look, because he had to avoid a crewman that was down in Jack Sprague's pit. Look at the angle he had. They lost a ton of positions. And he was back, I think, as far as 17th at the point.
And Bliss did a great job to get that truck out of there, just the right amount of wheel spin to get it pointed out. So, yeah, he lost a huge number of positions on that stop and gained them all back on this yellow.
Talk about going the wrong way after 9 races. Mike Bliss has started 6th average and finished 14th. Greg Biffle, his teammate, we were thinking they might be the killer bees. Well, Biffle has averaged a 4th starting position, but has finished 10th. Now, Biffle does have 1 victory. Bliss is still looking for his first. Maybe tonight will be the night. He's on the point right now. He's led here before at Texas. And he's got Ron Hornaday, the king of the restart, right behind him. Right before the green, let's get an update on Stacy Compton. Dave?
Marty, the problems in the pits for Stacy Compton are being magnified now on the track. The vibration that he thought he had in the rear end is a transmission problem, they think now. He's not even sure he's going to be able to get up through the gears at the restart.
He is currently running 16th on this field, and we're about to go back to green flag racing at the end of our 3rd caution here in Texas. Of Lance Norrick is lap traffic on the inside. Here comes Hornaday and the rest of the field. Hornaday looking like he was going to try the outside line. Sprague right behind Hornaday. On board with the 16.
Oh, man, Hornaday hangs Sprague out to dry up on top. And look, what a great move by Ron Hornaday.
There's the battle for the race lead as we have completed lap number 70. Uh-oh, 3 wide, and this time Dave Starr's on the high side. You don't want to be there going into turn number 1. They make it 2 abreast. Starr says, I'll back out a little bit, and the number 2 of Mike Wallace is on the move. He is up to 10. Now remember, Wallace started 27th after a horrible qualifying effort, his worst of the season. And right now, the guy who has been very, very strong, and here we go, a battle for the lead, Ron Hornaday. And yes, he'll be credited with the lead. So that is our 4th lead change amongst 3 different drivers. And right now, I would still not second-guess that team on not changing less. Here comes Jay Sauter getting around the 24. And look at the 7 of Brian Repner. Now, he is several laps down, but it looks like they've got that motor singing again.
And look at Jack Sprague falling back. There's Andy Houston on the outside of Biffle. We hear that maybe Sprague brushed the wall on that first lap as Biffle gets into Houston just a little bit, driving down into 1.
Oh, big fire, the 75 of Marty Houston, as he has made strong contact with the wall and has slid down to the infield portion of turn 4. A lot of damage to the 75 Spears Chevrolet. Our 4th caution of the day, and right now Marty is not out of that truck, and the flames are shooting, and quickly the crews get over. And I'm sure brother Andy is saying, hurry up guys, get him out. There he is. Best news we can give you. Marty Houston is out of the truck, and it looks like he's going to be okay. The truck is hurt seriously. So we've got our 4th caution of the day. Stay with us. We'll be back to Texas. Getting ready to go back to green flag racing at the end of our caution period. Our 4th one of the day. Ron Hornaday at the point. The 99 of Mike Bliss in second.
Green.
And we're green. Turn number 1, Hornaday gets another good restart. Bliss right behind, about 2 truck lengths. Andy Houston about another 2 trucks.
And look at Biffle. As we go on board with Jimmy Hensley, Biffle was taking a run at Sprague.
Jimmy Hensley right now running in 7th. The 6th position in front of him is the number 25 at Tolsma. There is Sprague and Biffle. Sprague is running 4th. Biffle is 5th. And the man who's in 6th position now is the number 2 of Mike Wallace. There he is. And he has gotten around Tolsma. Ooh, he pushed up a little.
He had a big run there, and it looked like that truck got very tight coming off turn 2, and he had to check up on the throttle.
On board with the team ASE Ultra Wheels Ford. Breathe the throttle twice there. Lap traffic is Lance Norton. He's got a run on the Granger Ford. Biffle side by side at the stripe. Yeah, he's going to take the position. Can he hold on to it? Biffle on the high side. That line is finally starting to really come in now, and Biffle's going to take the position back. So Biffle, along with the number 2 of Mike Wallace, give us a few thrills in the last lap. Will Wallace be able to make another run coming around after turn 4? Battle for second, meanwhile, Andy Houston's going around the X-side Ford of Mike Bliss. Remember, Bliss did not change the left side tires, only the rights on the first yellow. Is that a factor? Don't know yet.
And the question for Mike Bliss is, looking out into the future a little bit, we'll probably have another yellow. Even if we don't, when these guys stop, will Bliss take left side tires or will he take right side tires?
An interesting proposition that Matt Chambers, his crew chief, will have to figure out as we go back on board with Andy Houston as the shadows are getting longer here at Texas Motor Speedway. Good crowd on hand, upwards of 60,000 at the Pronto Auto Parts 400. Stay with us. You're looking at the Speedway Club here at Texas Motor Speedway, and what's that got to do with the Friday night fights on ESPN2? Well, that's where it's going to happen next. They're just down the corner from us. 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific on ESPN2. Danny Romero versus Enrique Jupiter. That's a super bantamweight title bout, and that's where we're headed right after this. And speaking of duking it out, here's the battle we've got going on the racetrack right now. That is Ron Hornaday. Right behind him is Andy Houston, and they are still flying around at over 172 miles an hour. Not bad for a truck that was originally designed to haul hay.
Well, and they just went 175 miles an hour. Andy Houston turned 175 about 2 laps ago as he was chasing down Ron Hornaday.
Our Dodge race recap. Ron Hornaday has led 58 of 88 laps. We've had 3 lead changes, and here comes Houston trying to knock on the door some more. Lap leaders, Hornaday, Sauter, Bliss. Off the track right now, the list includes Mike Stefanik and Brian Refner. And then out of the race, Marty Houston, B.A. Wilson, Tommy Croft, Jeff Andretti, Phil Bonifield. There's quite a few. Zoe Sontag, Eric Norris, Ryan McGlynn, Shane Jenkins, Chris Horn. And here we go, battle for the lead, and the draft works for Andy Houston, but not for long. Hornaday takes it right back down into turn number 1.
Well, Houston did lead that lap, so he will get the bonus points for leading that lap.
Marty Houston, we talked to him about being out of the race. He's listed in 25th right now, and he is now out of the infield care center. Amy?
The update from the infield care center is that he's going to be okay. No burns, just some bruises from his seatbelts doing exactly what they're supposed to do, and that was keep him tight in the truck. But you know what I thought was interesting? He said that he knew he had a tire rub, yet they decided to keep the truck out, and then the tire cut down, and at that point there's nothing you can do. This reminds me a lot of what happened to Rick Corelli at Memphis earlier in the season.
So So the good news on Marty Houston right now, you're looking at the 99 of Mike Bliss, currently running in 30s, about 1.1 seconds behind the race leader.
And I'm really impressed with what Mike Bliss is doing here. He did not stop and take those left side tires that everyone else took because he wanted to gain some track position. And he's running 173 miles an hour right now. Now let's go down to Dave.
And Matt Chambers is with me here. He's a crew chief for Mike. They just said in the booth, you're keeping up with the leaders. That's pretty obvious. But what about next pit stop? Will you change lefts and get on sequence that way, or are you going to keep changing rights?
Now we're going to go ahead and put right side tires on the X side batteries forward. It's running real strong, and tire wear wasn't really an issue in practice, so we had to do a different pit stop strategy there because we lost a lot of track position on that first stop. So we had the guys in the 24 had fallen down on their pit stop. We avoided hitting their guy and got all crossed up. So we're still all right.
This really isn't a scenario you talked about ahead of time. This took place because of all the positions you lost. You really have been bouncing back now just because of that pit position, trying a new strategy now. You didn't need to stay out.
Yeah, we weren't really planning on this, but it's hard to get around guys here, and we were back in 17th, so the only thing we figured to do is stay out. So that's what we're going to do. I think we'll be all right.
All right, guys, and maybe Matt Chambers and Mike Bliss's crew took a clue from the Pikes Peak race. Remember how long Jack Sprague stayed out on left side tires?
And here is Jack Sprague, the battle here for fourth position. And Sprague has been shuffled back here a little bit. You've got Biffle there and Setzer, Tolma, and then Sprague.
That is Sprague running in 7th right now. Biffle in the 4th slot. You know, and it's ironic. Matt Chambers mentioned the fact that they weren't going to do that strategy, but it was Mike Bliss who said, if you had to, you could go the whole race on left.
Well, I talked to him yesterday, and he said, oh, the left side tire wear, not a problem at all. There's a change for position. Look at Setzer, just driving away.
Boy, it's like he was shot out of a cannon.
And Bliss said that the left side tires are not a big deal. And I said, well, then if it's a two-stopper, will you just change rights twice? And he said, oh, I don't know. Well, it looks like that is maybe what they are going to do.
It'll be interesting to watch as this unfolds, because right now, Bliss, while all this is going on, take a look at what's going on back here. We pick up the action with the 43 of Jimmy Hensley. He is in 8th. Rick Crawford has battled his way into the top 10, into the 9th position. In fact, there we go on board with Hensley, and you look out the back deck, and you can see exactly what's happening with Mr. Crawford. He started 13th and has not had a lot of success last year here. He lost an engine and finished 26th, did Rick Crawford, but the year earlier, he finished 3rd after starting 6th, so he can't get around this racetrack. And there's Mike Wallace right behind him. So we've got a great battle starting to shape up between these guys, as Wallace is currently running in the top, and right behind him is Joe Ruttman. In fact, there are all 4 of them, Hensley, Crawford, and Wallace, and here comes Ruttman.
Good run off turn 2 for Joe Ruttman.
And Ruttman's going to take the position and relegate Wallace back to 11th. So while all this action is going on, we'll tell you that the leader up front is the 16 of Ron Hornaday by 0.3 of a second over Andy Houston. We're at Texas Motor Speedway, round 10 of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, the Pronto Auto Parts 400. The race leader is Ron Hornaday. And he has not been all that well received by this track in years past. Blown engines both years, but he de-geared the truck this year, and right now it hasn't hurt him a lick, as he is in front of Andy Houston by, well, that's what 27/100ths of a second looks like. There is Rick Crawford right now. He is 10th, and right behind him is the 73 of David Starr in 11th. Did Crawford have a scary moment just a bit ago? There he is, second in line.
Whoa, Joe Ruttman gets up behind him, takes some air off the spoiler, and look at that death wiggle. And this will be a great angle coming off turn 2.
Oh, man, that's a frightening feeling.
Man, look at how big that slide was. He does a great job to gather it up. Look at these guys all pop out and just drive by him.
And Crawford is saying, wait a minute.
Actually, they didn't drive by him. I mean, look at that. He got back into the throttle and just kept going.
He is right behind Hensley, and he's saying, wait a minute, I was just exiting the corner. I'm on the straightaway almost, and this thing is like going sideways on me. That is how quickly the aerodynamics can change on these things. And you know, we were kidding about it, but think about this. I mean, trucks were originally designed to haul hay, haul equipment. Here we are running them over 179 miles an hour in qualifying. Everybody's over 172 right now running up front. I mean, whoever thought the pickup trucks would be going this fast?
And it's just amazing to sit here and watch these guys turn down in here into turn one and just breathe out of that throttle and go right back on the floor. Just flying.
Now this group is led by Jimmy Hensley. He's in 9th. Then it's Crawford in 10th. The 73 of Dave Starr doing very, very well. And the 41 of Terry Fisher has gotten into that mix. He has fought his way back to 12th. Remember, he had a spin early in the race, our first caution. Now you're looking at the number 2 and the 7. That's Mike Wallace and Brian Refner. Now here is Jack Sprague. He has fallen 5.5 seconds off the lead. He's in 7th place. David?
And Marty, right now, that's one position worse than where he started, but we saw him running up front earlier. He's been battling a loose condition all afternoon long, and I just talked with crew chief Dennis Conner. Dennis looked at me. He said, we're a little bit loose, but he gave me the thumbs up. They think they can correct the problem. They think he'll be able to race for the win tonight.
Working lap number 108 of 167. So we're still got a good distance to go. They'll get an opportunity here in the next round of pit stops to make that adjustment. Bliss is still holding about 1.3 seconds behind the race lead in 3rd, and right in front of Sprague there in 4th is the 50 truck, as you see the rundown with 60 laps to go. It's going to be a little lonely feeling right now. He's got nobody around him after all these weeks on the short tracks. Now there is Stacy Compton. Now he is running in 14th position. You heard Dave talk about the fact he has got a vibration which they are worried could be in the gearbox transmission assembly area. We're on board, and right behind him there is the 88 of Terry Cook running in 15th spot.
And that is for position.
Interval 15.
You can hear him check up on the throttle there coming up too.
And then just a little bit further back, look at the aerodynamic mess of the number 3, the Goodwrench Chevrolet of Jay Sauter, our pole sitter. His first career pole just got into Jack Sprague when Sprague got loose. And look at the end result. He is now back to 16th position. There are only 19 trucks on the lead lap. I don't see how he can come back from that because the aerodynamics are so screwed up.
You know, if we were at Bristol, it wouldn't be a big deal, but on these super speedways, you cannot run with those aerodynamics upset like that. There is Ron Barfield in the 55 truck.
That's our first look at Barfield tonight. He is currently running in 17th. Right behind him was Scott Hansen in 18th. Back up front to the race leader, the Napa Chevrolet of Ron Hornaday.
And these guys have settled in at about 172 miles an hour.
He's opened up a bit of a margin over Andy Houston this time by. Last time by it was 0.7 of a second. We'll see what the margin is at the end of lap number 111. And it's 0.8 of a second. So he's opened it up a full 0.2 in one lap. But he's got a little lap traffic in front of him. That's Rob Morgan.
And you can see Mike Bliss has got Biffle. Biffle is now rolled up behind Mike Bliss. Mike Bliss only a few laps ago was in touch with the 2 leaders. He's slowed down a little bit, and Biffle definitely coming on.
Well, and Biffle, remember, he qualified 11th, fell back, and now has clawed his way back up into the top 5, and he's about to go around his teammate. It looks like he's got the faster truck.
I'm very impressed with what Mike Bliss has done with those left side tires. These are the left side tires that he started the race on.
We're working lap number 113. Next week, we go to Biffle's home turf, Portland.
He gives him a little wave there.
Oh, looks like he's going to be able to get underneath the X-Side 4 to Mike Bliss. Here comes the pass for position. Can he make it stick as they come to the stripe? Who's got it? It's still going to be Bliss by about a nose. Down into 1 now. Now Biffle finally makes the pass stick. Amy, what do you got on these 2?
I knew that wasn't going to stick, Marty, because Biffle and Bliss are working together. They're Ralph's teammates, and Mike said Greg is a lot stronger than him. He wants to draft him, but man, Greg is really pulled away from the 99.
He may be able to reel him back in, but he's got a problem right now. Dennis Setzer is closing quickly, and it looks like he's running high through turns 3 and 4. And here comes Setzer, going to try and force the issue underneath him as we head down to turn number 1. Dave, you got more on Setzer?
Marty Setzer and Biffle had been working together for many laps before Biffle got up and passed the 99. Looks like Setzer's going to get around to work together with him again. They found that they could pick up almost a tenth a second per lap on the leaders.
Well, he has cleared the 99, so Dennis Setzer has moved into the 4th position. Biffle is 3rd. The guys up front, well, it's Hornaday and Andy Houston. The King's still interested. Back at Texas Motor Speedway, we've got our own extreme sport. It's called the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, and Ron Hornaday is the leader. There is Joe Ruttman. Now this, I'm not sure this is a scheduled pit stop. We're working lap number 120. He is within the window. You're certainly going to make it to the end on fuel, but they are changing right side tires, got a tire loose, and this is a little bit longer stop than they really wanted under green.
Yeah,
changing right sides because they had a vibration. Very slow pit stop. They had a tire that got away from them, and now Kevin Harvick has moved into the pit. Kevin's going to take on right side tires as well. It's going to be pretty routine for them. They're kind of struggling here today.
I wonder what happened to Harvick. He is now 2 laps down, and the stop for Joe Ruttman has put him 1 lap down. Harvick at one point was in the top 10 after a horrible starting spot of 20th. But obviously the handling has gone away, or horsepower, or maybe a combination of both. Meanwhile, look at this.
Wide.
This is a battle for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Did you get excited there? And Andy Houston, Setzer has gotten around Biffle.
Well, Biffle took a great run at Houston going into 3. Now, what you didn't see there was they got caught up a little bit behind Ruttman, who was coming out of the pits. And Biffle took a run at Houston, couldn't make it stick.
And guys, the 99 is coming into pit lane, so Mike Bliss is stopping here on lap number 123. Dave?
Well, you know, they got off sequence earlier, Marty. They're going to go to the right side now, give Mike tires, but they also need fuel. The report most recently was that he was just a little bit loose, so they're going to get Mike back out there. He will be good to go to the end.
If fuel should not be an issue, I mean, we've only got 44 laps remaining. Been long on the stop, right side, so they are going to go the whole distance of this race on 1 set of lefts.
And look at this battle for 2nd. Houston, Setzer, Biffle now around the outside of Setzer.
And there is Joe Ruttman. Now remember, Ruttman is now shown 2 laps down at this point.
With fresh right side tires.
Yeah, so he is probably quicker than all these guys, but they aren't going to want to let him by. Here we go. 3 wide? No. Ruttman thinks a little better of it. I'm sure they appreciate it as well. The battle underneath. Setzer gets under Biffle, and Ruttman says, okay, I'll follow Setzer. Down the back stretch. No way Greg can battle both of them. Whoa, little tap there from Biffle. Whoa, real loose is the 18, the Dana Dodge of Joe Ruttman.
And there's Tolsma. Tolsma's got to run. Tolsma was not far behind this battle, and Tolsma's got to run on Biffle.
And Tolsma the quickest this lap at 172.282 miles an hour. So you wonder why Randy Tolsma has moved all the way up to the 5th position? You got your answer. 25 of Randy Tolsma, the Super Guard Dodge. They have had their struggles. Boy, look at him going. Slicing and dicing.
Here comes Biffle.
Biffle's going to go to the pit lane.
50 coming in.
So a lot of green flag stops.
Yep.
And as he makes his way down pit lane, you got to hog it down to 55 miles an hour, or you get a speeding ticket. And it seems like an eternity when you're in that cockpit and when you're in the pit crew. Now Biffle slides to a stop. David Starr is right in front of him, already there. Dave?
David Starr is taking on left side tires. Greg Biffle will go to the right side. They're cleaning the grill, and they're going to spin the jack out of the way. Biffle stalls the truck. No power on the 50. They're going to have to push him to get him started, and it's not easy. That thing finally fires, and Greg Biffle's out of here.
That was costly. They had a good stop going, but when he stalled the truck, it really hurt him.
I'll tell you what, it was costly, but there was a tire sitting out there. One of David Starr's tires was sitting out in pit lane. There's David Starr. Amy?
Randy Tolsma came in 5th, and you know what? He needs 11.5 gallons to finish this thing, so they're going to give him fresh right side. Just give him that fuel he needs to finish.
The numbers peeling off on both sides. Is that because he's been going so fast, or is he rubbing?
Good stop, guys. Let's go now. Watch your speed.
Well, that looked like one of the best stops the Supercar teams turned in. Tolsma, last race, they had tire problems on both the left and the right rear at 2 different times, and it just was a disaster for him as he ended up 16th at Bristol. Meanwhile, let's check up on what's happening up front. The race lead is held by 0.8 of a second by that man, Ron Hornaday. The guy who is in second place right now is Dennis Setzer. As it's now Andy Houston, I should say. He's gotten around. Setzer's headed for the pit lane. That's what I was looking for.
Fuel. All right. Get left. Get left. Go.
You heard the crew tell him to go. They'll change right sides, Dave.
Dennis Setzer is in. He will get for the final time right side tires. They were reporting that they might be able to go till lap 140, but remember the Dodges do not get fuel mileage the same as the Chevys. He's out of here. He's good to go for the rest of the way.
And you can see the crew giving him a bit more rear spoiler there. So Dennis must feel that truck is a little bit loose, a little bit more rear spoiler for Dennis Setzer.
So Setzer pulls back out onto the racetrack. Let's reset it for you. You're on board with our race leader, Ron Hornaday. Andy Houston is in second. Hornaday says he's going to stay out for a while. Jack Sprague is third. Terry Cook, the highest he's been all season. He's up to fourth. The 86 of Stacy Compton has moved back into fifth. We'll find out what happens when we come back. Dramatic developments at Texas Motor Speedway. Our race leader, Ron Hornaday, has miscalculated and has run out of fuel. He is coasting towards pit lane. He's coming around turn 4 right now. And I have no idea how they could have made the miscalculation, but here is Andy Houston. Dave?
Marty, apparently they calculated correctly. He came in underpowered. They go to the right side to give him tires as well. And Andy Houston, his brother, Houston Caldwell on the jack. They will get Andy down and hopefully not collide with Ron Hornaday. Nearly a collision. Hornaday is in now. He's going to hit his pit box, but he's going to be to the outside. They have to push him back now. The NASCAR official will not let him start until he gets in his pit box. Now they go to the right side for Hornaday. They will put fuel in there. He was not under power. They're going to have to get him refired as the second can of fuel now goes in. Scott Witt's holding it, and now they're going to push start him. Hornaday being pushed by the team. Steve Meal on the door, helping the charge, and Hornaday finally fires and is out of here.
Wow. There is Steve Meal right there as he has not gotten it fully lit. It's stalled again. The Napa Chevrolet having trouble getting refired. He's on the verge of going a lap down if he doesn't hurry. Stacy Compton is your race leader. He's coming by the start-finish line. And he may put him down.
Right behind Compton is Jay Sauter. You can't see him. He's right out behind Stacy Compton.
So there is Ron Hornaday just getting out. That was Jack Sprague right behind him. Sort this all out for you. Right now, the 86, and there comes Stacy Compton slowing on the racetrack. He is coming into pit. That's going to give the lead to the number 3 of Jay Sauter. Now remember, Sauter has not stopped yet. 55 miles an hour for the 86, the Royal Crown Cola Dodge. Stacy Compton. Dave, they're going to have to pull a miracle here to get this truck back out and keep that string going. They have 8 top 4 finishes.
Go.
And you hear the crew telling him to get off the wall. They're cleaning the grill. They're going to go to the right side. They were calculating the fuel mileage, and they knew that with less than 30 laps to go, there's no way Stacy would make it in the 86 truck. He's going to get him down now. Stacy Johnson waiting to drop the jack. He finally gets the signal, and Stacy Compton is out of here.
Dig on that. You're clear. Dig on that.
They had a little bit of trouble on the right front as the lip nut slipped off, and so that slowed that stop down.
Definitely cost them some time. So there's Jay Sauter. He is out the lead, 15 seconds out ahead of Dennis Setzer.
So right now, before these guys cycle through their pit stops, Sauter is back up front, but an aerodynamic mess. Setzer is in second place. And third is Andy Houston. Randy Tolsma, who has made his last stop, is fourth, and Greg Biffle is fifth. So right now, Andy Houston and Randy Tolsma, Dennis Setzer, these guys in a pretty good position.
Well, Setzer especially, because he's got about a 4-second lead on Houston, who has about a 3-second lead on Tolsma.
Oh, and a tough break for Kevin Harvick and the Porter Cable Power Tools Ford. It's behind the wall, and it looks like his day is done. The best he'll end up is 22nd. Meanwhile, Jay Sauter, he is going to have to stop one more time. As you look at the scoring there, it's a bit deceiving because we have several trucks that have to still stop, but we should tell you that right now, one lap down in 17th place was our former race leader, Ron Hornaday. So that was deadly.
Miscalculation on fuel really costing Hornaday probably the race win here.
And things are getting a little more interesting. Dennis Setzer is closing in on the 86 of Stacy Compton. Right in front of Compton was the 14 of Rick Crawford. Compton is shown in 12th, one lap down. Crawford has been passed now by Compton for 11. They are both one lap down to the race lead. Setzer is on the lead lap. He is 14 seconds behind the race leader, Jay Sauter. And you're on board with Stacy Compton. Right now, we have 7 trucks on the lead lap. We're working lap number 144 of 167. It's getting to crunch time. That's Rob Morgan in the Axiom Ford, the number 46. He is 3 laps down in 21st. And here comes Jay Sauter. So he is finally going to have to surrender this race lead. So Dennis Setzer is going to take over the point. So as Sauter rolls down pit lane, Setzer will assume the race lead. His best finish so far this year for Dennis Setzer has been second back at I-70 at Lake Odessa. Dave, you're down at the 3 truck.
It's been a great recovery for Jay Sauter, but as you say, aerodynamically challenged. This will be a gas and go only. Jay getting ready to go. They're having a little trouble getting fuel in there. No damage on the left rear, so I don't think the line's pinched off. They just never got a good shot at it, and now he stalled it.
Yeah, so many guys have stalled tonight.
You know, and a tough break for those guys because they were doing a timed stop there, just trying to get fuel, not taking tires, so they could maintain what track position they did have. I mean, Setzer went up into the lead, but a tough break for the 3 trucks.
Smoke from Terry Cook, and it looks like the motor has gone completely. He's down in the race line through turn 2. You're on board with Mike Wallace. You can see the puff way back in the distance.
Yellow's out.
So, Terry Cook brings out our 5th caution of the night. We'll give you the ramifications on what it means. Dennis Setzer could be the big beneficiary. Stay with us. At number 25, Randy Tolsma. He came from the Midget Car Series, MCI WorldCom Midget Car Series from Anderson, Indiana. Thunder, USAC action, ESPN 2 Thursday, 10 o'clock Eastern on the Deuce. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of Go Network, go.com. Quick update on Randy Tolsma, Amy.
Back in 1997, Randy Tolsma's crew chief, Gary Showalter, he won here with Kenny Irwin Jr., so look for him to be strong as we go back green.
His best finish so far this year has been 7th at Martinsville. They have not cracked the top 5. He's running 3rd on the restart. Dennis Setzer leads him into turn 1. On board with Andy Houston in 2nd. We had to breathe it there a little. Whoa, look at Biffle. Man, that was close. Side by side, that is Rustin inside. 41 there on the low side is Terry Fisher. There is Ron Hornaday right behind the number 2 of Mike Wallace. Hornaday is in 14th, but he's a lap down. There are 10 trucks on the lead lap. One of them is Jack Sprague, the number 24. He's in 5th.
And look at Wallace. Wallace coming under some pressure here from Hornaday. There's Hornaday.
We're on board with Mike Wallace. Breathes the throttle, then gets back into the power, but he's high. It's going to give Hornaday a line underneath him.
Right behind Hornaday is Jay Sauter.
And Sauter is battling for position with the 2 truck of Mike Wallace. Oh, Wallace way high. He almost got up into the gray. That's going to cost him a spot or 2.
Well, Jimmy Hensley's going to have a shot at getting by Wallace. That is for position. Jimmy Hensley in 8th.
So in less than a lap, if Hensley can make this stick, Wallace is going to drop 2 spots. 73 of David Starr. He was in the top 7 at one point. He has fallen back 2 laps to 17th. Hensley getting a little drafting help from David Starr. He does finish off the chase for the position. Meanwhile, look at the battle up towards the front. Sprague is going tooth and toenail with the number 3 of Jay Sauter. Whoa. Contact there with the number 2. There is Jack Sprague running in 5th. Right behind him in 6th is Sauter. I'm impressed Sauter's been able to stay on the lead lap with that aerodynamic mess.
When you consider what that truck looks like aerodynamically, he's doing a great job. Don't forget, though, he did stop on that last yellow. Here's the battle for 2nd. That's Tolzma.
Tolzma's truck is on fire. Gary Showalter definitely knows how to set up a race truck for this track. He has gotten around Andy Houston into 2nd spot, and there's the race leader. You saw him at the top of the screen. There's the margin. It is 9/10 of a second.
Dennis Setzer, that last lap, 174 miles an hour.
Setzer, his best finish this year, as we mentioned, 2nd at Odessa. There's Randy Tolzma, starting 23rd. Dave, you got more on Randy?
Last night in happy hour, guys, they really found that the 25 truck handled great in traffic. They were a lot happier than they were in qualifying. And by the way, on those decals, well, last night they had on reflective decals, as did a number of other teams. NASCAR didn't like that. Made them change them to the standard decals, and they're not sticking.
So, it's like I said, he's just going so fast, he's tearing them off.
And speaking of happy hour, guess who was faster than happy hour last night? That was Dennis Setzer.
And boy, right now, he is hauling the mail at 174.6 miles an hour. There's Tolzma. He's no slouch at 174 and change. We've got 10 laps to go now, so the 10-lap rule would come into effect if we have another yellow. Also, remember that we have had 4 races this year so far finish under the green-white checker formula. We do not end under yellow. Looks like Biffle is trying to make his way into this mix, catching up to the 60 of Andy Houston.
And Ron Hornaday hasn't given up getting back on that lead lap. He's hoping for a yellow.
Take a look at who's quickest at the line right now. It's the 25 of Randy Tolzma. The SuperGuard Dodge is flying at 173.9 miles an hour that last lap. The second quickest, Greg Biffle in the 50. And Setzer well out in front right now by 1.1 seconds.
You can see Jay Sauter there working hard on Jack Sprague.
Again at the line. And look at this, Sauter the quickest despite the damage.
A good tow from all those other trucks probably going around the racetrack, and Sauter taking a run at Sprague coming off through 2.
Yeah, but it makes you want to wonder if he hadn't had the contact with Sprague earlier in the race, would this guy be blowing this field away?
Well, keep in mind that, you know, they can make some mechanical adjustments on that truck. If they lose that aero grip in the front, they can make some mechanical adjustments to try and make up for that, and they've probably done that. Sprague really dropping back now.
Sprague back to 6th and losing contact for a moment. Now he's trying to reel Sauter back in. Sauter moves into 5th. He's 2.3 seconds behind the lead. Boy, Jack went high there.
Sprague's truck definitely not working right now. I'll tell you, Houston has not given up on Tolzma, and Biffle is right there.
Yeah, except for Hornaday, everybody in that mix is for position 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. You get Hornaday out of the mix there, and these guys are going to be going after it. Hornaday, as you said, he's trying desperately to catch back up to get back on the lead lap, but with 6 laps to go, it's just not going to be enough time. Because Dennis Setzer's out to 1 3/4 second lead over the field. He is checking out.
Well, let's not forget that race at Pikes Peak where with 10 laps to go, Jack Sprague had a lap on the field. Yellow came out. Mike Wallace gets back on the lead lap and ends up winning the race.
This would be Dennis Setzer's first Superspeedway win. That is Lance Norick. as he's making his way around the track. There is the battle going on between Biffle and Sauter. That is for 4th. There is Dennis Setzer. Now, his last win was back in Mesa Marin in October of '98, and he almost had the Martinsville race until he had some contact. That one ended up going to his Dodge cohort, Jimmy Hensley. Take a look at the comparisons. You get an idea just how well Dennis Setzer is doing. This would be Dennis's first super speedway win. He's got 4 laps to go.
And he is pedaling that truck as hard as he can.
He's still opening up a wider margin.
Look at Biffle again.
Biffle almost rubs the wall. The lead is now 1.88 seconds. Tolsma's doing all he can. He's got the second quickest truck on the racetrack. There is Sauter and Biffle. Everybody's sort of in lockstep now as we've got 3 laps to go here at Texas Motor Speedway. Round 10 of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Everybody pushing as hard as they can. Biffle trying to get underneath Hornaday. It's not going to happen.
That's going to give Sauter a run on Biffle. Look at Sauter. He's got a run on Biffle. Biffle stuck his nose in there.
2 laps to go. Hornaday finally says, okay, guys, there's no chance for me to get back on the lead lap. He's letting everybody else go by. So now Sauter has a shot at Biffle. Nobody has a shot at that guy, Dennis Setzer. There is Randy Tolsma, Andy Houston, Greg Biffle. Oh, we got smoke down the backstretch and the truck spinning. It is Terry Fisher. Our first caution, and now what appears to be our last caution, number 6, is brought out by the same truck, Terry Fisher. And guess what this means, guys? For the 5th time this year, we will have a green-white checker finish, and Dennis Setzer is the only guy who is disappointed. He and his team are going to surrender that nice lead.
He was about to see the white flag.
Woof. One more corner, Setzer would have had the white flag, and we would have finished this race. But now we are going to be in a green-white checkered situation. We'll be going there as soon as we get done. We're going to go green this time by Randy Tolsma in 2nd place. David?
Marty, I just talked to Gary Showalter, his crew chief. I asked him, what are you telling Randy? And he said, it's time to win one. They think they are better on cold tires than Dennis Setzer. Stay tuned.
We're going to find out as we are just about ready, heading down the backstretch. We'll go green this time by.
It's interesting to hear them say that, because if you think back to that last caution period, Tolsma was not that strong coming to the green on that restart.
Well, we're going to find out who's got what oomph left in their motor and in their tires, as it will be the number 1 of Dennis Setzer, the 25 of Randy Tolsma in 2nd, the 60 of Andy Houston in 3rd, Greg Biffle in the 50 and 4th, and Jay Sauter, despite all the damage, in the Goodwrench Chevrolet, our pole sitter, in 5th. And look at that. I am amazed that he has been able to keep that truck on the lead lap, let alone in 5th. Coming out of turn 4. Green flag in hand. 2 laps to decide round 10. The gloves have to come off now. And look at Houston. Houston, gets into Randy Tolsma, and he is still spinning wildly around into turn 4. Everybody's going to miss the no. Big crash with Barfield. Tolsma came down to defend the position.
Houston had a big run on that restart.
I'm looking for movement. I see movement in the 25. Randy Tolsma. And it looked like everybody was going to make it by. Unfortunately, Ron Barfield didn't. Look at, man, he punched the hole in the side. Look at the rear axle. You can see how deep this contact really was.
That was a very big hit.
The window net is just coming down now with the assistance of the emergency crew. We're waiting to see. And you, boy, you called it. You thought something was going to happen.
well, you could see Houston had a big run and just a little tap right there. And keep in mind, on cold tires, Tolsma does a great job here. I mean, look at this field bearing down on him, gets it straight, just can't quite keep it straight. Barfield goes high, and boom.
Back at round 10 of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, the Pronto Auto Parts 400K from Texas Motor Speedway. I'm Marty Reed, along with Jeremy Dale, Dave Birds, and Amy East in pit lane. You're looking at the two top combatants as we are getting ready to go green again for a green-white checker finish here in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Here's the reason that we are under a caution flag situation. Hard contact. Watch what happens.
It was actually just a little touch right here. That is Andy Houston into the back of Randy Tolsma. Tolsma does a great job, gets it locked up, has got it pointed straight, but just can't quite keep it straight, and turns up, and there's Ron Barfield.
Barfield T-bones him. Both guys did walk to the ambulance. If you're tuning in for the Friday Night Fights, on board with Andy Houston.
Listen here. I mean, Andy Houston did about as much as he could do to not hit Randy Tolsma.
Well,
and apparently NASCAR doesn't feel that way.
Well, we had a similar situation. NASCAR is going to move. We're just being informed. The 60 is being moved to the back of the lead lap line. So that's going to move him back. And last week, Jimmy Hensley was penalized for getting into Jay Sauter. And the ruling, according to NASCAR officials, was for weeks they have told these guys in the meetings that if you have contact, we're going to do something about it. So, again, tough call by the officials.
And you feel bad for all these guys, and I really do believe that Houston tried his best not to get into the back of Randy Tolsma, and the sound on that in-car really supports that.
So, Andy has basically lost his chance at winning this race because he's going to have to move to the back of the lead lap line. And that means it's now going to be Greg Biffle with a chance for victory number 2 on the season. Dennis Setzer for his second career victory. And Setzer also his first victory of this season. Dave, quick update on Dennis.
Well, Marty, the thing is, they're not sure if Dennis Setzer can make it on fuel. And what a heartbreak for Rick Wren and Andy Houston. They had added extra fuel. Rick said, I just had a gut feeling. I put in extra fuel. Setzer did not.
Well, we've got 2 laps to find out if he's got enough because we're going green here at Texas Motor Speedway, and the 2 of them get a great jump over Jay Sauter in 3rd.
And Biffle's got a good run. Look at him here into 1. He's right there.
But Setzer is pulling away, so if he doesn't have a fuel problem...
Keep going. Keep digging.
Oh, boy, Biffle got a little loose. In fact, Biffle's under attack from Sauter.
And we saw Biffle loose before the yellow.
This time,
look at
Sauter really coming on strong, trying to get underneath Biffle. He is under him. He's past him. White flag. Here we go. 1 lap, 1.5 miles to go.
Keep digging.
Sauter is closing.
Sauter's not done. Sauter is not done.
This is amazing. Look in the right front corner on the number 3 Goodwrench Chevrolet. It's junk. Aerodynamically, this should not be happening. He's got 2 corners to take a shot at winning his first race of 1999. Coming through 3, around 4. Everything is big in Texas. Is it going to be a big win for Setzer? Or the number 3 is going to be Setzer? Dennis Setzer with his first win in 1999, and they did have enough fuel. Congratulations to Howard Comstock and the entire team. Again, a reminder that we'll have an interview with our winner on RPM tonight, tomorrow night, 11 o'clock Eastern Time. For Jeremy Dale, Dave Burns, Amy East, I'm Marty Reed. Thanks so much. Friday Night Fights are coming up next.